Hello and welcome to Killer Off-Road Hobbies. Today we're doing the full review and my thoughts on the 1/8 scale 4x4 monster truck from Thunder Tiger, the e-MTA G2. This is a brushless powered monster truck with a 6S capable ESC and tons of adjustability. Now right out of the gate, as you can tell, this is a relatively unique looking RC, as there is no other RC out there that really looks like this thing. It has a unique body, a very unique chassis design, and we'll get into some of the pros and cons in a second. First of all, taking off the body did hold up relatively well considering all the hits it took. It is pretty unique looking, but I do believe that this body held up very, very well. This is the only real damage that the body sustained from all the hits that it took while I was bashing it. It's got some normal scrapes and everything, but all I really did to reinforce it was put a little Gorilla Tape where the body posts go through. And this body still has quite a bit of bashing left in it, I believe. And the uniqueness of it does make it look pretty cool, I do have to say. So now moving on to this very unique style chassis. It is very intimidating looking when you first start looking at it. All of this stuff, like how everything is just kind of stacked on top of itself, and it looks like it'd be very, very difficult to work on this thing, but it's actually not overly difficult. This top piece comes off with 4 screws, 2 in the front here, and then 2 back over here. Hopefully you can see those. And then this pops off, giving you access to your ESC. And then if you want to go a little bit deeper than that, you can pull these 4 screws out, and then there is a clip in here that you have to get into the battery tray to kind of push over, and then that will pop up. And then this is just held on with 2 screws, and this is held on with 2 screws. It's not overly complicated. So once you kind of dig those out, all of them are the same size hardware as well, so you don't have to worry about mixing up the screws. That basically gives you access to pretty much everything. Your servo is under here, your receiver is in here, and your ESC is in here, and of course your motor's here. You'll have access to your spur and pinion gear through here. Also, if you need to adjust your gear mesh, just by taking 4 screws out. There's 2 right here, and then there's 2 down right there. This also has a slipper clutch that's inside this little hatch door thing if you want to tighten and loosen it for convenience. So here's the battery tray. You kind of just push over and up, and it swings open, and it allows you to put your 2 battery packs in here. Now, while the battery tray being very long is not very tall, so you are pretty limited in your packs that you can put in here. And this kind of door mechanism thing, it's pretty hard to like open and close. You have to like push in and push over, so it is pretty inconvenient. I can't even do it right now, but trust me, it does close, and it stays closed. I notched all this out, these 2 notches here, and I actually cut this all the way back because I had it kind of just hanging out right here, and I didn't like how it had my wires kind of angled. I felt like it was just gonna break them off and like rip them out or whatever. So I gave it more room. Now you can see it can just kind of float around in here. I dremeled all of this so that it's nice and smooth. It's not going to cut into my wires at all. You can just run your finger on any part of this, not have to worry about being cut or anything. So yeah, that's the basic layout. It's got 4 shocks in the front, 4 shocks in the rear. Very adjustable, like I said. It runs a full pillow ball suspension, so your camber is adjustable front and rear. It also runs turnbuckles front and rear. I did replace this turnbuckle, but the stock ones are adjustable. And then this is adjustable. It's just more complicated than just putting a wrench on it and turning it. So underneath, there's not a whole lot under here. You have your aluminum bulkhead braces. You do get the wheelie bar, which is very nice. The plastics are nice and thick. And if you pull these couple screws out, you have access to your drive shaft. Other than that, everything is pretty standard. Alrighty, here's some running footage. Now this is on 4S, where I found this thing to have plenty of power, especially once I changed those stock tires out. Now, yeah, I'm not even going to show the stock tire running footage, because who wants to watch me try to drive this thing with those basically slicks on a gravelly surface. They just didn't work out, and I'm going to stop ranting on that because I will talk about that later. Now, like I said, yes, this thing has pretty decent power on 4S. I would say for most casual hobbyists that just kind of want to put around, maybe do, you know, a little bit of jumping here and there, you know, not hardcore bashers, but people that just want a decent, good, fun RC experience. This thing has absolutely plenty of power on 4S. And if you get a bigger set of tires with more centrifugal help, I guess you could say, to do some backflips, I'm sure this thing has plenty of power to do backflips on 4S. But with these smaller tires that I put on here, unfortunately it wasn't in the cards. But this RC handles excellently on 4S. The four-wheel drive helps it not only drift around but turn pretty good, and the suspension setup is pretty good for 4S. For the jumps you're going to be able to take without airing this thing out huge, I think the suspension did very well. Now moving on to 6S. OMG on 6S. This thing has an insane amount of power. Now you really, ooh, that was kind of fun. I enjoyed that one. So you really start to see a couple small flaws this vehicle does have when you are running the 6S power. Now, it's not a competition buggy, it is a monster truck geared towards bashing for the most part. So the handling isn't overly important, I would say, but the handling, you really start to see some flaws in the handling. It leans pretty heavy when you're turning, and with that 6S power, you're gonna feel that a lot more. It also pulls the front tires up very, very easily on 6S, especially with decent tires, kind of like that. So you are gonna have to feather the throttle a little bit unless you want to just flip this thing over backwards, which is actually kind of fun. Another thing you're going to find out if you decide to jump this thing pretty high is that the suspension is pretty soft for actually getting a decent amount of air. So you are probably going to want to change out those stock oils. I would go probably 60 or 70 weight, which is what I plan on doing after this review. Now that it's just going to be basically my personal basher, I'm going to change out those stock oils, get that suspension a little bit stiffer so I can really kind of air this thing out. I'm also going to put some bigger tires on there so I can do backflips, big time backflips. This thing definitely has the power. Unfortunately, with those smaller tires I put on here, the backflip really wasn't in the cards, even with that 6S power. But that Ripper motor and rebranded Hobby Wing ESC that's 150 amps is just amazing, especially for the price. I really can't believe they only charge $349 for this brand new, ready to run. Ooh, that was a nice jump. All right, back to the review. Alrighty, so now let's go over a few pros and cons. A pro about this thing is, although I got it for $257.55, so here's for any naysayers that might think I was lying about the purchasing price of this. Right there you can see $257.55. And this is definitely my eBay, because here is the 4S D Boots backflips that I bought for it for $60. So yes, I definitely got this for the $257.55. This thing normally goes for around $349. Now for $349, getting the Ripper motor with that rebranded Hobbywing ESC, I think is an absolute steal. That is a very, very, very good combo. Also, just the price of it for a 1/8 scale 6S capable monster truck is pretty decent, considering most vehicles in this price range tend to be on the smaller side of 1/8 scale. You could even possibly call them 10 scale, and they definitely are not 6S capable. So the price for what you get, like at least electronics wise, as far as the ESC and motor are concerned, is very, very good. So a definite con is going to be part support. Part support for this specific truck, the G2, the e-MTA G2, is very spotty at best. Fortunately, Thunder Tiger used a lot of the parts on this truck on several different 1/8 scale monster trucks. So you do kind of have a variety of trucks that you can pull parts from, you know, go into parts for those vehicles. I will put a list right here of trucks that you can look at if you need parts for this thing. But parts for this specific truck are very hard to come by. I'm just gonna say it. They're very hard to come by. So part support is a definite con for this thing. You can find parts, but as you saw, I had to make my own repair on this thing, because I literally couldn't find the parts until after I had already fixed it. And I went ahead and ordered a bunch of parts since they were in stock, when many, many, many of the parts for this truck were out of stock from Thunder Tiger themselves. So part support for this thing is a definite con. Now another positive is this thing does seem to be durable. How durable, you ask? It took quite a beating from me, and I can't really say anything negative about it. The only thing I broke was a rod end on that turnbuckle in the rear that I have since replaced, and I plan on replacing the other one because I don't really care about the toe in the rear. I just want the tires to aim straight. Another thing I had to do, pulling the body off again, is I did not pop a shock cap off, but I guarantee I would have if I wouldn't have replaced them, especially when I took it out and actually got some decent air out of this thing. These shocks are on the Team Associated Rival. They are the same exact shocks that are on this, and they are absolutely notorious for popping caps. So instead of waiting for the caps to pop and having to deal with the oil getting all over everything and trying to clean it up as best I can, I went ahead and replaced the shock caps before I had to deal with all of that. But I guarantee I would have popped the shock cap somewhere along the line bashing this thing. So basically the shock caps are absolutely mandatory if you're going to get any sort of, airtime with this vehicle. Now, I would say another con of this truck is somewhat a positive in my eyes. The chassis design. While I don't mind the chassis design, most people will look at it and kind of worry about repairs, worry about working on it. So that is going to be a con because it turns people away from this thing because they're scared they won't be able to work on it. And it's just kind of intimidating looking when you're looking at the chassis. Other than that, the battery tray is absolutely horrendous. I do not like the battery tray design at all, like not at all. And the stock tires that this thing came with, all I have to say is really, on a monster truck, you're gonna put street tires. Like you might want to call these all-terrains, but I don't think they did decent in anything except for grass and on pavement or asphalt. So yeah, these are street tires, and these do not belong on a monster truck. Monster truck says off-road. I'm just gonna leave it at that. That was an absolute horrible decision by Thunder Tiger to change the very, very good tires they had on the e-MTA, the original one, which is the same tires they run on the MT4 G3 and the associated rival. All of those trucks come with their very, very, very capable tires, and then for some reason they went ahead and threw these on this truck, which I think is another reason why people probably don't pick this truck up, is because they know right out of the gate that they're going to be investing money in tires if they don't have a set of tires that they can put on this thing. These. Yes. So breakages and failures. Let's go into that. So one of the breakages I had was this rod end that was on the rear turnbuckle. It failed on one of the off-camber jumps I landed, and the rest of this kind of just like disintegrated. I couldn't find it. It wasn't on the turnbuckle still. So this part failed. Relatively cheap, easy to fix, hard to find though. Like I said, part support for this thing is not incredible. The other breakage I had was the front bumper just kind of came off on one of my nose landing front flip type things. I actually don't mind that this came off because this just kind of hung the body up and everything. And it doesn't really do a whole lot. It has taken several nosedives and everything since this popped off of there, and it's no worse for the wear. So I would say this is optional at best. I don't even think it really needs this. So moving on to a failure I had. After my first bash, this was working. When I went to take it on my second bash, this was not working. This is the stock steering servo, and for some reason it just kind of locked up and quit on me. So it's not overly hard to change out. Like I said, this thing is intimidating looking to work on, but in all reality, it's actually not bad to work on this thing. It's actually pretty easy. Is it as easy as a flat pan chassis, like truggy style monster truck? No, it's not as easy as that to work on, but if you can work on one of those, I guarantee you can work on one of these. It's not difficult. But I did have this failure. It could have just cost me 10 bucks. I could have got, one of those 20 kg JX steering servos that I really love, and replaced it with that. That would have cost me about 10 bucks. The steering servo I put in there was brushless though, so it is more expensive, but I could have had a cheap fix and had this thing steering just as good as it steers right now. And then, as I said, I replaced all the shock caps, all 8 of them. All 8 of them. Alrighty, so now that all of that is out of the way, here is my thoughts on this truck. I actually very much enjoyed testing this truck. It did far more than I thought it was going to. I really thought I was jumping into this vehicle and I was going to be disappointed, and I came out of it actually very happy with this thing. So my thoughts on this thing is the part support isn't great, but the truck is. The truck is. I actually think this thing is an excellent buy. You do have to put a little bit of money into it, and the battery tray is definitely inconvenient, but I guarantee if you pick one of these up, you will have a blast just like I did. You might have to buy a steering servo. Chances are you probably will. And you'll definitely have to buy shock caps. I would definitely do that. And hopefully, so it doesn't cost you money, you have a set of tires that you can just throw on this thing. But other than that, other than those 3 things, I think this thing is a total win. I totally recommend it. It was a very fun truck to bash, to go out and test, and I am genuinely happy with the results that I got from testing this vehicle. And I definitely plan on bashing this thing much more on this channel. So look for that, but I definitely give this my stamp of approval and 2 thumbs up. I think Thunder Tiger did a very good job on this truck. It is intimidating looking. It does come with very horrible tires. The battery tray is inconvenient. But if you look past the few flaws this truck has, I think it is an absolute win. I definitely do. I definitely recommend this truck. And as I said, I did get it for substantially cheaper than it normally goes for. I ended up getting about $100 off, but I would still buy this thing again for $350. I think it is definitely worth what they ask for it. As far as A-scale monster trucks go that are 6S capable these days, that's about as low as you're gonna find an A-scale monster truck. $350 is not bad for this truck at all. All right, everybody, so that's my full review and thoughts on the Thunder Tiger e-MTA G2. Please thumb up if you liked this video, thumbs down if you didn't, subscribe, click that bell, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.